So let's get real. Most people talking about quantum healing haven't done the real work. So they're repeating memories, not reprogramming multidimensional trauma fields. I've lived this, I've bled for this. And today I'm going to take you inside the actual mechanics of spiritual and scientific of what healing in the quantum field really looks like. So let's just start here. If someone's selling you quantum healing, but they've never actually faced their own shadows, rewired the nervous system, or cleared ancestral trauma through their bones, you're not being healed. You're being entertained. We hear this all the time. Shift your vibration. You just need to believe more. Affirm it until it is real. Fake it until you make it. Sounds good, doesn't it? Until your bank account's empty, your body's in chronic fatigue, and your relationships are mirroring your deepest abandonment wounds. So let's be clear. You can't spiritually bypass your biology. You can't affirm your way out of a nervous system locked in freeze, fawn, or fight. You can't journal your way out of an identity that's been run by a subconscious operating system formed by a scared, rejected 5-year-old version of yourself. Now, here's what they're not teaching. The quantum field isn't just light and vibes, it's structure. The field, scientifically speaking, is a realm of potentialities. It responds not just to thought, but to coherence. Yeah. And it was the best launch I'd ever had. And it was all organic people. There wasn't Facebook ads or anything like that. It was organic. And I always thought that I needed a big following in order to get a good launch and all the rest of it. But no, you don't. You just need the right people. And your subconscious needs to feel safe. That's what I mean by the things collapse. Your current timeline has to collapse. That's what I mean. That's what happened with mine. It collapsed. Like in every area, it was collapsing. Me and Dave were arguing. It was just mental. And this is where we really connected to the hologram healing. It's where it comes in. This is the system that I was downloaded with. Now, I was using the system, didn't realize this is what I was doing. And this was born from decades of my work across psychology, spiritual channeling, cellular trauma, and real energetic recalibration. However, it went to a different level once I was downloaded with an energy. The only thing I can describe as an energy that to bring this forward of a deep connection to spirit. Because in the hologram healing, we just don't clear blocks. We get into the field structure, the physical, the emotional, the psychological, the spiritual, and we scan the hologram like a blueprint. Where did the soul fracture? Where is the body still holding the unspoken memory? Where is the inner child still calling the shots silently or from the control center of your subconscious? I've had clients shift deep ancestral patterns. They go back 16 generations, not because they said the right mantra, but because we located the trauma source across all 4 layers and was able to collapse the timeline distortion and rebuild that coherent field that the nervous system could safely inhibit. No woo, well, maybe a wee bit woo, yeah? We all love a bit woo woo. But there's no fluff. It was just real source technology applied in a grounded, structured, loving, but fierce way. No, I respect Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a Sikhem master. I'm a pranic healer. I worked really close with a lot of energy modalities. And I've also received beautiful energy healing sessions. But if you're only working with the surface, just the energetic body, say, you're going to feel good for a day or a week or even maybe a few weeks. And then your old operating system reboots. Why? Because you didn't go to the source code. You didn't ask that inner gatekeeper, the child version of you, the ancestral voice, the shadow protector for permission. Yeah. You didn't release the energy from those holographic bodies. And if you skip that step, you're going to be at war with yourself. So when I work with someone in the hologram healing, we don't just push for the result. We ask who's in control of this part of you. We look at the system. We look at the system and see where it feels safe enough for the change to happen. And we change it with color, metaphors, spiritual guidance, intuitive guidance. That's real healing. That's quantum integrity right there. That's where you stop chasing upgrades and start becoming the source. We also use in the quantum field the medbed frequency. So let's talk about the medbeds. Not the $10 million machines the government stashes away in some black ops facility that where no one gets access to. I'm not here to sell a conspiracy. I'm here to tell you, you already have access to something much, much more powerful, and it lives inside the field of your very own soul. Because the medbed frequencies I use, they aren't external tech, they're source tech. They're pure codes. They're channeled through a multidimensional healing grid built from ancient, we'll say, Syrian ninth dimensional Egyptian energy systems, Sirius DNA systems, ninth dimensional light frequencies, galactic frequencies. It's not New Age theatre, guys. It's an energetic surgery done in communion with your highest self, your ancestors, your soul's own healing intelligence. And when most people hear medbeds, they picture a huge pod, a futuristic machine pulsing with blue light locked away in some underground military base. But what if I told you the real medbed doesn't need wires or funding or clearance? What if the most potent medbed is the one encoded in your auric field, in your higher self, in your soul, waiting to be activated through frequency, alignment, and divine permission? This is what we activate in sessions. And this is where we work with clients to open the multidimensional channels in their energy body. And we lay them on the medbed of their own soul grid. And once it's calibrated to their unique DNA light threads, their trauma patterns, their soul mission, change happens. It really does. And here's the one truth no one's saying. You do not heal just because you're ready. You heal when your field is in resonance. You heal when your nervous system says yes. You heal when parts of you that have been protecting the pain, the grief, the survival energy, the ancestral exhaustion finally surrenders. Let me give you an example of what I mean by here. One of my clients, a woman in her 50s, she spent decades carrying the weight of family line, generational burnout, poverty codes, hyper independence, masking a deep mother wound. Now, she came into a session guarded but hopeful, and within 15 minutes on a medbed grid, in her own soul grid, her body began to tremble. I mean, real trembling, not out of fear, but it was energetic release. We weren't doing surface work here. We were recalibrating her cellular memory. And by the end of the session, just 45 minutes later, she was released over 40 years of survival patterning that had calcified in her womb, her heart, and her spine. This wasn't placebo, by the way. It wasn't imagination, but maybe it was a wee bit of imagination because in hers, it was a quantum entrainment of her cells back to her truth. It was source-based DNA recalibration where we restructured her field from distortion back to divine design. And here's what the science says. Your body is not just matter. Your body is vibrational, energetic data, a symphony of light and sound. Every emotion has a tone. Every trauma has a frequency. Every cell vibrates from memory. So when we activate the medbed field, we're not just imagining healing, we are literally rewiring the song of your four bodies. Now, scientifically, they have scalar fields, photonic codes. We have source aligned frequencies that come in and overwrite the corrupted software your system's been running on since childhood, or even longer. We don't do this with force, we do it with coherence. And that's the power of the medbed recalibration in my world, anyway. Not something reserved for the elite or the futuristic, but something remembered by the soul, anchored in source, and guided by your highest frequency self. And this is where science really meets spirit, where DNA becomes divine again, where healing is not an escape, it's a return to your original blueprint. So let me tell you what really healing actually looks like. Not the filtered Instagram version, not that blissed out meditation snapshot, the real stuff. I've had to strip myself raw, had to watch my ego try to save me, control me, convince me that I was fine. I've got it. But underneath all of that was unworthiness, was lack, so thick. I could taste it in my throat to the point that I shook, sobbing. My body, my voice, my bank account, even. They were holding the residue of shadows I thought I'd dealt with. It was light work on the outside, light candles, holding space for others, guiding powerful sessions. But in my own belly, I was carrying shame. In my sacral, it was exhaustion. In my voice, it was suppression. And in my money field, it was deep, inherent shame, scarcity that didn't come from my job or my marketing. It came from my lineage, my ancestors, all right through that line. And here's the part that no one tells you. Healing doesn't come when you try harder. It comes when you receive deeper. You don't need more hustle, more strategy, more work, more rituals, more workaholism. You need to feel safe. You need to feel safe enough to let it land, safe enough to let go. And that safety is not built in your mind, it's built in your nervous system, guys. I had to meet the part of me that was still bracing for abandonment, still bracing for scarcity, the part that thought healing meant I had to do it all alone. And that if I let go, I'd be swallowed by the very darkness I came to clear. And I see this every week with clients, people who've spent years in therapy, some people even 20 years in therapy, thousands upon thousands on courses, decades in spiritual devotion, still stuck in loops, still questioning why they don't feel whole, still wondering what is they're missing. Because here's the truth, you're not broken, you're definitely not blocked. You're just running old protective codes from a time when you didn't have support. Your focus is in the wrong place. But now your soul is ready to reparent the energy to bring your inner child, your teenage self, your adult feminine and wounded masculine, all of them, into one unified, aligned, sovereign system. And if you're exhausted from the healing loops, this is your permission slip. You don't need another full moon ritual. You don't need to purge for 8 hours in a jungle or in a meditation retreat, spiritual retreat. You don't need to wait for someone to save you. What you need is coherence. What you need is spiritual led recalibration. What you need is energetic sovereignty. And that means your nervous system trusts your next move. Your subconscious isn't at war with your desires. Your field isn't leaking energy to timelines that aren't yours anymore. Your soul gets to be the damn CEO, not the wounded patterns. That's what healing looks like. And yes, it can be messy, but it's sacred. It's not always pretty, but it's bloody liberating. And when you stop performing healing, you start embodying it. Your body remembers, your soul lands, your life begins to flow, not because you're forcing it, but because you've stopped resisting the truth of who you are. You're not here to prove yourself. You're here to receive yourself fully, fiercely, freely. And this is a wee note when I tuned into my spirit team today for this podcast. This is what they said. You don't need to be perfect to do this work. You just need to show up. We're not asking you to become someone else. We're asking you to remember who you are already. Yes, sometimes it can be uncomfortable. And yes, it'll stretch you. But you've done hard things. You've survived things no one ever even knows about. And this part, this is what you stop. This is where you stop surviving and start receiving. You don't need more proof. You need more trust. You're right here. Not something outside of you, but as a voice in your gut, the pull in your chest, the knowing that won't go away. Yes, you already have what you came for. Just let yourself use it. Now, if this episode resonated with you, please share, screenshot and tag me and Varney. And if you're ready to go deeper, you can even have a hologram or medbed session with one of our practitioners. Or if you want to actually learn this modality, go over to theoraclecode.com because you're not broken. You're remembering. Let's bring your soul back all the way home, where truth meets technology and your soul remembers how to rise.